All right, well, welcome back, guys. Today we are going to try and finish section 1. So we're going to go through this fairly quickly today, but mostly because a lot of this information we've seen with mitosis. But let's do a quick review of what we looked at yesterday in the Zoom meeting and in the video before. But remember, haploid and diploid. Okay, haploid means half of the genetic information. So that's going to be represented by, again, an italicized N right here, okay? And that stands for us, 23. Okay, as human beings, remember, like I said, 23 is what N stands for humans. If it's something else, I'm going to state it's something else, all right? But remember, that's only half the amount of chromosomes that we have. So we have diploid cell, meaning it has double N, so 2 times N, which is 23, so 2 times 23 is 46. And 46 is the amount of chromosomes that we as human beings have. So make sure that you guys remember this, haploid and diploid. You know that N is equal to 23, and when we have 2N, which is 2 times 23, which is 46. All right, so let's keep moving forward. So we talked about mitosis. Remember, mitosis is the replication of a basic composite cell. All right, so the cells of your bodies perform mitosis. Meiosis is sexual life cycle, all right, so sexual reproduction. So meiosis is talking about the sperm and the egg between your father and your mother, okay? So meiosis is producing what we call gametes, okay? Gametes are a fertilized egg, which makes you, all right? So those gametes will make that fertilized egg, turn into that zygote, and eventually become you. All right, so meiosis is producing you. Like I said, it's very similar to mitosis, but there are some differences. With meiosis, we're going to have 2 stages instead of 1 stage. So that means we're going to have prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. Those should all be familiar. All right, but along with them, it's going to be 1, 2, 3. Not 3. I'm sorry. So it'll be prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1. Telophase 1, and then we're going to see a prophase 2, metaphase 2, anaphase 2, telophase 2. So we're going to see it go around twice, okay, because we're going to have 4 times the information, so we need to have it split twice. All right, so let's take a look at this. So stages in meiosis 1 are going to reduce the chromosome number by half. All right, and they're going to do this through that separation of those homologous chromosomes. Remember, homo means same, logous means those types of chromosomes, so the same chromosomes, the same length, same centromere position, and carry the same gene. That gene means the inherited trait, so whether you're going to have straight hair, curly hair, blue eyes, brown eyes, green eyes, things like that. Okay? So like I said, it's going to consist of meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. All right, so there is an interphase. So those chromosomes are going to replicate, and that chromatin condenses. That should not be anything new, okay? That's exactly like what's happening in mitosis. All right, guys? So prophase 1. So we're going to see pairing of the homologous chromosomes. All right? So these chromosomes, you get 1 from each parent, but they are identical to each other. All right? They are identical. Okay, so each chromosome will consist of 2 chromatids. So, talking about the genetic information on each side. All right, and then that nuclear envelope breaks down and the spindle fibers form. Okay, that's nothing new. That nuclear envelope is dissolving, and remember, we see those spindle fibers forming, so that way we can separate the chromosomes. Now, if you look closely, there is something else happening here. We're going to get to it in the next slide. But these are crossing their paths. Okay, these are crossing over. If you look at them in your PowerPoint and your slides, you can see that they are crossing over each other. That's what that term is called. It's called crossing over. All right, so crossing over, it's one of your vocab words. It's an important vocab word to remember. But crossing over is going to help you exchange genetic information. Meaning, this right here, this crossover, is why part of you can look like your mom, and then part of you can look like your dad. All right, so for instance, for example, for me, I got my mom's blue eyes, my dad's got brown eyes, but I got my dad's hair. He has really curly hair if it grows out. All right, my mom, she doesn't. She has straight hair. Okay, if you ever see my dad, he's got a big nose. I've got a big nose. I get that from him. All right, but this is why I can have some traits from my mother and traits from my father. It's because of this right here. It's crossing over, and this is what makes you an individual. This is what makes you you, and this is what makes you different from your brothers or your sisters or from your mom and dad, all your family members. Okay? Crossing over means that you can have certain advantages. So you could probably be more athletic than a sibling. Okay? It's just because you got all the good genes. Literally, you could have gotten all of the good genes. It does happen, guys. All right, but crossing over, again, is what makes you, you. And without this, if we didn't have crossing over occurring, we'd all look identical. We would all be the same. Okay, so this, like I said, is what makes you, you. Now, if there's inbreeding, and we'll get to that, we'll talk about the white tiger population. They're so small that identically, they look similar. They look the same genetically. So that means that one thing, if there was some bacteria or virus that was come in, make one of them sick and kill it, it's probably going to infect the entire population and kill off the entire population because they look so similar because of inbreeding. Okay, but crossing over, okay, it's going to allow certain segments of chromosomes to exchange with each other. Okay, and so this is going to happen during prophase 1. Then we have metaphase 1. Okay, again, very similar. Chromosomes, the centromeres attached to the spindle fibers, and they're going to line up in the equator. All right, so again, those homologous chromosomes, when you think of metaphase, think of middle. Anaphase, it's going to separate them, and it's going to move in the opposite poles. And you can see right here that crossing over has occurred, and so there's going to be some genetic changes. Telophase 1, okay, look, it's splitting, all right? Spindle fibers are going to break down, those cells are going to divide. But remember, this is just meiosis 1, all right? We have a meiosis 2, okay? So prophase 2, again, nuclear envelope dissolves, all right? The spindle fibers are forming, but if you look, there is no crossing over this time. Crossing over only happens in meiosis 1, okay? Crossing over only happens in meiosis 1. Okay, and then metaphase 2 occurs. They're going to line up on the equator again. So remember, metaphase middle, they're going to line up in the middle. All right. Anaphase 2, it's going to separate those sister chromatids. So this is very similar to what we would see for mitosis. We're separating those sister chromatids. But even then, you can see that they are still different. Okay, so they're going to be pulled apart by those centromeres, by spindle fibers, and move towards the opposite poles. And then telophase 2, they're going to separate. Now, here's why identical twins are very rare, but why you can have fraternal twins, but look different and act different, okay? You can have twins, but they're going to be very genetically different, because if you look at these 4 right here, they're not the same. They are not identical. Remember, when we talked about mitosis, they were identical, okay? The cells that you started with and the cells that you finished with were identical to the parent cell. Okay, so those daughter cells did not change. All right, so cytokinesis, they're all going to separate, and it's going to result in 4 haploid, remember haploid, half cells, each with N number of chromosomes. Remember that N stands for 23 for us. All right, so the importance for meiosis. Okay, the importance for meiosis. Meiosis consists of 2 sets of division. Remember, mitosis, it's 1. So meiosis is 2, mitosis is 1. It's going to produce 4 haploid daughter cells that are not identical. They're not identical. Remember, mitosis, it only produces 2. So meiosis has 4 because it's got 2 divisions. Mitosis only produces 2 because it's got 1 division. All right? But in meiosis, they are not identical. For mitosis, again, they are identical daughter cells. All right? Now, meiosis, this is where it's really important. it's going to result in genetic variation. Again, I touched base on it with crossing over. Genetic variation is what makes you you. It's what makes you different from your mom, from your dad, and from your siblings. But it's also the reason why that you guys can still look very similar, because you carry some of the same genes as each other. Okay? So, meiosis provides variations depending on how your chromosomes line up at the equator. All right? It can result in 4 different combinations of chromosomes, and they can vary from results. All right? So it means that just a small little part can cross over, or a huge part can cross over, or that whole half can cross over. Okay? There's not a set rule to how much is going to cross over. It can be very random. All right? But genetic variation can also produce during crossing over and during fertilization when gametes randomly combine. Okay? So it's just when things are randomly combined. Okay, so that genetic variation also is produced during crossing over and during fertilization when gametes randomly combine. Almost there, guys. So, sexual reproduction versus asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction, think of mitosis. Let me find my black marker so you guys can see it. You think of mitosis. When you think of sexual reproduction, think of meiosis. I probably spelled that wrong, didn't I? No, I got it. Okay, so asexual reproduction, think of mitosis. The organism inherits all of its chromosomes from a single parent. So that means that new individual is genetically identical to its parent. Like I said, that can be problematic. All right, the white tiger population is so small that if one thing infects it, they're all going to get infected and could possibly die if it kills them. Okay, obviously we're dealing with that right now with the coronavirus. It's very contagious. It can infect us all. Sexual reproduction, meiosis. Okay, genes multiply faster over time, meaning because of random assortment, because of crossing over, we can have beneficial genes multiply faster over time, so we can see more and more beneficial genes as we go along. All right, so that is the video. Make sure if you have any questions, write them down. If you didn't understand something, go back, rewatch the video or rewatch certain sections, so that way you guys can understand when we have our Zoom session next Wednesday. All right, take care.